My name's Jim Young. Obviously, I'm out on N scale. I thank Gary for coming up all the way up from home down south to look at my layout. It's a great compliment. Been in N scale probably for since 2015. Started out with a little 4x8 layout, and I thought, what the heck, I got a whole room, I might as well just go right to it and do the whole kit and caboodle. So I did. I didn't have very much when I started, but I grew up around this stuff with Todd Traster, who is my mentor and has taught me a lot of how to do things here. And decided to build the big layout. 2015 to now, this is what I got. The collection greatly expanded once I became a little more savvy on what to buy, what not to buy, what I wanted to model as far as roads. Of course, as model railroads, we all like them all. We like them all. I have a few roads that I really, really like to collect. I like to collect Conrail, Norfolk Southern. Of course, that's my, I guess, home teams. Took me about a day and a half to build the framework for this. Another week to lay the track. And then I reconfigured the yard over here. Thanks to Todd giving me some good information. It greatly expanded my yard from 8 tracks to 16 tracks, the way he told me to lay it out. And again, you never know everything. You always learn something new every day. And it doesn't matter what you do, work, home, modeling, you learn something new every day. Learned a lot of stuff off the internet, a lot of great people on the internet, a lot of great information. Recommend anybody that's getting into it. Young kids get into it. They love the YouTube. Watch them. Watch Gary's channel.
Thank you.
Learned a lot off the internet, I can say that. So it's been since 2015 I've been collecting, and I got so much stuff in such a little space. I even tried to talk my wife into buying a bigger house so we'd have a basement that I could expand. And of course, you know, they always call that the landlord or the property manager, so she says no. So, quite happy with what I got. I don't have ever any plans of tearing it apart, tearing it down, maybe modify it here and there, but not much. But right here, on the inside loop, you'll see a section about this big. This is where the original layout was. And I did not have enough room to hold enough trains, and everybody's looking at that saying, oh my God, how could he want more? Well, as a model railroader, you always want more. Doesn't matter. So I figured if I added a couple tracks here, right around the inside the perimeter of the layout here, I could hold probably 80 to 85 more cars. And I built that in like a night, just dumbing around. And the reason why I can do such things like that is because on this entire layout, is completely made out of 2-inch thick foam. The complete base is made out of foam. Everything underneath the city is made out of foam. All the mountains and the scenery work are made out of foam. There's no plaster on this layout except for one section, which is over in the diesel facility for the concrete. That's the only plaster that's on this layout. Everything else is laid on foam. I use a different technique. I just, by trial and error, discovered this. Of course, when you're with Todd, track work is the most important thing, and it is. No fun having a layout you can't run.
Right. Especially if you're re-grilling every 5 minutes.
Right. And you can't go through a switch, and you can't run a train without having too many worries. I mean, everybody has derailments. You have issues of derailment this morning because of couplers, you know. There's always an issue, but the track work did not cause that. And I can honestly say, if I neck down my trains to 20 cars or 15 cars, I could let them run all day long and walk out the house and go mow my grass and come back in and they'd still be running. The track work is pretty good. And me and Todd were talking one time about a fella he had come down with a Shinkansen bullet train and ran on his layout at super high speed. And he said, well, I guess my track works pretty good. And yes, it is. His is probably the best. So I had over the summer bought a Shinkansen. And there's a video on my channel. And that's called, there's speed and then there's warp speed. And I took that thing around here at full blast and it never come off the rails forwards and backwards. I was like, well, I guess I passed the test. So,
So if you need track work done, you contact this man right here.
I lay it down a different way than some people. Some people lay it cork or lay plywood, cork, and then track nails in the track. I didn't have that luxury of a solid base like wood. I had foam. Track being as expensive as it is I tried to lay it down as nicely as I could so I could reuse it if I pulled something up. So what I do is, and you can tell this is hard as a rock, I glue the cork down because cork is expendable. I take my track, I lay it down, I use track nails in the middle of the track. I ballast the track, I used a 50-50 mix of the glue and the water. And after it dries, I pull the nails out. Very few nails you'll see in the tracks. The nails are out. This track's been laid since 2015. It's not moved. Now, if I have a problem, everybody has switches that go bad. God knows, they're expensive. Track is expensive. You don't want to ruin everything by cutting it up and having to use a putty knife and wedge it up, and all the ties go balloon, the rails come off the ties. I can hit this with a spray bottle and it'll come right loose. And I can take that ballast, scrape it. Like when I redid my yard, it was all ballasted. Every bit of it was ballasted.
And you went from the 8-track to the 16?
Yes, when I went from the 8-track to 16, it was solid ballasted, it was done. And then I reconfigured it and I took it all out. Just like I said, I hit it with the spray bottle. Took it out. Took the switches, ran them under hot water. Glue comes right off. Stones come right off. Your $25 switch is now not running. It's in great shape. They're all reused. All the track was reused. Just clean it off. But the nice thing is that took the scraper, scraped all the ballast off, threw it in a cup. I have a blender especially for this. I bought one just for that. Throw it in the blender, blend her up. She's back one, spray it down again. So the track doesn't move. I mean, the track, it's easier to replace than having track nails and glued down. A lot of guys like to put that bead of caulking down there and lay their track in the bed of caulking, and they can do the same thing, take the nails out and stuff, and it doesn't move. But if you go to take that switch out, you've ruined that switch. Or even if I had to take this section of straight track out, you would ruin this switch and ruin this switch if it was caulked down. I don't do that. I can just hit that with a spray bottle. It'll come right off there and zip the dude on, it's done. So that's one of my techniques. As you can see, like I said, I use foam in everything that I do because it's easier to work with and a lot less messy. But the background mountains are all made out of 1-inch thick foam. And I thought to myself, I didn't want a paper background, I wanted a 3D background that felt more real. So I cut the foam and did my magic of rounding it off and everything, and took lichen and glued to the top and sprayed hairspray on the lichen and sprinkled it with some Woodland Scenics, and there she is. All the trees are super trees. Well, most of the trees are super trees. Some of them are bought trees like these and the pine trees. I'm not quite talented enough to make those pipe bottle pine trees like some guys are. Todd taught me how to do a bunch of stuff with the trees too, because he made all those trees in his layout. So, you know, he says this is what you do, and it's good that you feed off each other. I mean, it's good that you bounce ideas off each other. He bounces ideas off me. I bounce ideas off of him, and he's been in it for a lot longer than I have. And God knows he has a lot more knowledge than I have. But, you know, like I said, not everybody knows everything. So, with newer materials and stuff from the old days, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s, you couldn't do anything without dipping paper towels in plaster and doing that. Now they have plaster cloth. The only way you got plaster cloth back in those days is if you broke your leg. You know? So, yeah. About all I can say about it. And it's strictly a DC layout block. I don't run DCC. And that was my choice because, I mean, I had the opportunity to start with DCC. The money wasn't the issue or anything like that. It's just I am not computer savvy. I know there's guys out there that swear by it, and God bless them. You know, they have good luck with it. For me to go DCC now would cost an absolute fortune for all the locomotives I got, because I got close to 500 locomotives, and you can show that in that case right there, and I got cases underneath the layout. They're just locomotives everywhere, and to go DCC would just be insane. Amount of money. I do have a couple DCC and sound locomotives that I love. I have a couple DCC and sound locomotives that I hate. And you're going to think I'm crazy, and a lot of modelers don't think that Bachmann produces a very good locomotive. Well, in the past, maybe not. Newer models, I wouldn't throw them away. The two DCC and sound locomotives that I have still running, they're both Bachmann, and they run like a champ. I have a DD40X, and I have I think it's a 944-W up there. I think that's what that is. I'm not sure. I bought them because they were decently priced, and they run like a top one here. You just can't run them with anything else that's DC. They just take way too much power. But it's strictly a DC block layout, as you can see. Got blocks over here. I run an MRC Control Master 20 walk around throttles. I got two of them. I do have smaller throttles down underneath there for anything that I want to do, if I want to replace them or whatever, because they are getting hard to find.
Said your lights were all ran off of what?
My lights are all newer LEDs, and they all run off of one old cell phone charger that produces about, I don't know, 4 volts or something like that. LEDs are amazing, and as small as they are today, it's not like back in the old days where you had the old Christmas lights and you plugged in and stripped them down, you plugged them in, and you hope to God they worked, and you didn't overpower them. Yeah, on the refinery back there, there are micro LEDs. On billboard there, it's micro LEDs. There's this company. There's a company on the internet, and I can't remember. I think it's called Evo Model. I buy all my LEDs there. I bought my LED lighted cars from there. They have a little right here. It's hard to see, but they have a little setup crossing gate blinkers that are running, and they have a little control chip underneath, kind of like the Miller Engineering signs, which I got one over there too. Everything in here is tied on one single cell phone charger. And to ask how many LEDs you can put on one charger, all they do is tell you run them till they quit lighting. That's what they tell you. Run them till they quit lighting, and you're good. So, yes, I don't have all my buildings lighted. I wish I did, but I kind of took a break from doing that. It gets to be monotonous. Good friend of mine who passed away here a year or two ago. His name was Don Wirtz. Loved to build laser cut structures. That was his forte. He loved to build. You have guys that have love to build the cars. You have guys that love to build the buildings, plastic or otherwise. Don's thing was laser cut. The silver house hidden in the woods over there beyond the trucking company. He built that for me. He built this structure for me. And he also built the depot for me. The two structures back in the back, one's an OIP, one's a Dunkin' Donuts. He built them. And then back here is the farm set. And every structure on there Don built. And you'll recognize the structures because they are kits. But he built them all. And I'm kind of glad I have them because, you know, that's the last things I got of him since he passed. Good friends in the hobby, Steve Wilson. He would love to come down and see it. He has a hard time getting up and downstairs. Bought some of his stuff that he had sold. I promised him I'd run his ethanol train. I didn't put it on. I'm sorry, Steve, if you see this. I didn't put the ethanol train on here. I have a hard time taking it out of its case because it's all complete kit. It's beautiful, and I have a hard time taking it out. Mikey Sabia in New Jersey, another friend of ours, would love to have him down here to look at. Want to go to his house and look at his huge layout. He has a big layout, nice big layout. Would like to get him down here, but he's had health problems here for a while, and he really doesn't get out too much. But anytime I do a video, I do it for those two guys. Because I know they want to do so much, and they just can't do it right now. It breaks my heart. But, in other words, here, I got, I probably have close to 500 locomotives, probably over 2,000 cars. It's a nice modest collection. It's a big collection for one person. My forte in the hobby is I like to lay the track, and I know a lot of people don't like to do that. I like to lay the track.
What about ballasting the track?
I don't mind doing that either.
Really?
As long as I can take my time and do it right, and do it the way I want, I don't mind ballasting. And I do it all with a spoon and a little brush. And yes, I even ballast in my switches. All my switches have ballast in them. And they all work great. 99% of my switches are Picos. I have a few Atlas on here, but they're old school Atlas switches. I don't all the Flex Track is Atlas Code 80. Like I said, the Atlas switches I didn't have very good luck with them. Pico, solid as a rock.
How many cars you usually run on your typical train around the layout?
This train here I think has 30 on it. I mean, the rule is you typically don't run a train that's longer than your biggest siding. That's the rule. And my biggest siding is on the inside here, and these two here are sidings. There's 30 cars on each. And it gives you a little room so you don't foul the switch. Plus, if you want to run locomotives, I love to run multiple locomotives, as you can see. Very rarely do I run just one. I think there's one train on here, and it's this one. That is one locomotive. That's the work train. Like I said, good friends in the hobby. Zeke McGee gave me this car. It went right on the work train.
Which one was it?
This one right here is the pipe road. That goes right on the work train. Just, it's hard to describe. I airbrushed the clouds on the walls, as you can see there above the mountains. That was a total experiment. It was just one of these nights that I got in here and I just felt like doing something, and I did it. I just did it. And this is what I used. Cordless airbrush. And this airbrush to me has multiple purposes that I showed you earlier. But you just recharge it over USB cable. It's cordless. Does a great wonder of blowing the little dusties off your trains. But I used it to paint the sky. Like I said, total experiment. And everybody raved about it when I made the video one. And I thought, well, I guess I did okay then. So that's what I did.
So if you had any advice for anybody, what would it be?
Don't go too big too quick. This started out as a 4x8, which a 4x8 and N scale is quite an operation. I mean, I had a nice 4x8 and it had dual track running around it, little side yard to it. It was great. But I grew up with Todd Tracer. I know that's what I wanted. Always wanted one like that. Always did.
Well, you're well on your way.
Yep, all we gotta do is get with the proper manager and expand. But as of right now, that's a negative.
Some of those CEOs and CFOs are hard to come by sometimes, so hard to sway the board in the right direction.
Yeah, I know. I pitched it a couple of times and got shot down, so I guess I could add, I don't want to say it, more details. Zeke McGee and Todd both have incredible details in their city scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And watching Todd redo Pittsburgh, I thought, my God, I can do a lot more here. There's always stuff that you can do. Zeke's is the same way. To get it to that point.
Right.
And they say it's never done, but like I said, I like laying track. I like to run long trains. It's a little layout, but I run long trains on it. They have 30, 40 cars. No problem.
What's the overall size now?
The room is 12 by 11 and a half. And you can see, I'm a pretty big guy, so got this kind of an area to walk in. Hard to show people, because you can only be in here one or two at a time.
Well, we had 4 in here earlier.
We were tight.
And a dog. And a dog.
And the puppies, yep.
Try to get the overall here.
No. Hello. Yeah.
Building them, like I said, they have unions. I flattened it off. So the flat. Do it with a